My name is Fidelis. I specialize in helping people like you discover yourself. It brings me great joy and great happiness to know that I have helped somebody find their power within themselves to live the life that they deserve and the life that they set out to live when they came to this earth. Let me give you the backstory so you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. I was born to two wonderful parents, and they did everything within their power, everything within their ability, everything that they could for me and my sisters to be able to get a good foundation on life. And one of the things that my parents did was they sent me to boarding school when I was about 10 years old. And so from a very young age, I honestly felt so disconnected. I always felt so disconnected. I developed a serious desire and a love for reading, and reading became my escape. When I was reading a book, it would take me so far into the story that I would forget my own life. And then when I became of age, where I recognize myself as my name is Fidelis and I know what I want in life. And at the age of 14, miraculously, I got an invite to come to the US for a global young leaders conference. And during that trip, something in me switched. I was able to connect to people from different countries, all the countries in the world. There was a representative. From a young age, I realized what a huge responsibility our leaders have. And so going back home and realized all the division, all the separation that's happening. I remember growing up as a Kikuyu girl and being told, no, I know you love that boy, but he's not a Kikuyu, and in our family we can't do that. And I was young. I trusted the adults in my life. And I can say that by then I was developing my root chakra. I was trying to figure out what's my place in the world. And growing up, I always remembered hearing from my cousins who are older than me that my mom had been pregnant prior to me, and that she'd been pregnant with a, and I never really got to hear this straight from my mother. My mom tells me everything, and if I'm hearing this from my cousins, that means that she's probably upset with me about it. I made a conclusion in my head as a girl. I started kind of living a double life. I was my father's daughter, but I was also his son. And I know it's not typical for a girl, but let me do it. And so today I'm actually here to tell you about your life, because I figured out my life. And how did I figure out my life? Over so many years of trying to hold on to this double life system where I would never say no to my parents, I would never say no to my sisters, I would never say no to anybody, really, because I was expected to be present and show up for every problem, as a man should. And then last year, 2020, COVID hit. They shut the borders. And being the responsible daughter and son that I am, I called my dad and I was like, hey, time is running out. What's happening? Are you coming back? What are we gonna do? Like, what's the plan moving forward? That's when my dad told me, I don't wanna come back. Oh, I was so heartbroken. And I remember I was like, oh my God, this is my whole world. I've worked so hard to structure this world to be so perfect and so aligned with my thinking, you know? And that's now speaking from my perspective. Like, my perspective is how I view the world from where I'm standing. And it's different for everybody because everybody was raised differently. Your parents were different from my parents. Where you went to worship was different from where I went to worship. And again, so that culminates to now my perspective. So I'm looking at it and I'm saying, my world is crashing. I've worked so hard to bring this family together, to live together, but my father wants to go. And I realized this is something I actually can't control. But then I was like, wait a minute. Why? So I asked him, Dad, why don't you want to come? And he said, my heart is in Kenya. And it still gets me so emotional up to today, because I realized, wait a minute. Really? So you're gonna follow your heart? It's okay to follow your heart? And that triggered something in my system. And when I say my system, I'm talking about the whole of me as Fidelis. And I remember now I started thinking and I started saying, you know, I've lived 28 years blaming myself. 28 years trying to be your daughter and trying to be your son. And I've put everything that I would have said my heart wanted, I put that aside for this life. And 28 years later, my dad tells me, no, I'm going to follow my heart. And that's when I really had to put a pause. You know, when you just put everything on hold and you're like, wait a minute, no, something is not right. So I put everything on hold. And I remember I even the job that I had didn't matter anymore to me. Nothing mattered. I was like, I realized, I felt like, it literally felt like I just came into this world and I don't recognize this life that I'm living, because I'd given away 28 years of my life to a perfected person, to a perfected life, to what I had been told was good and perfect and good for a woman, good for a Kikuyu, good for, you know, name it. And I realized I need to get my life back. I really need to get my life back because I'm 28 years old. And in that process, I started to look inwards. Inwards means I'm listening to my body, I'm listening to my heart, I'm listening to my mind. I'm trying to understand, why have I done things that I've done in the past? How did I end up where I am? And when I say where I am, in 2020, let me describe that girl for a minute. This is in 2020, around March. I was 28 years old, married to a wonderful husband who's very handsome, had 2 kids. My mom would babysit for us and we would go and just reconnect. You know, that disconnection that I always felt as a young girl, I started reaching out to connect. And this kind of connection I'm talking about is not the connection of just talking. It's a connection on a soul level where it's my heart pouring out what my heart feels is important, and my husband pouring out what he feels is important. And then both of us just kind of going through these things and trying to figure out, how can I better support you and how can you better support me? Okay. And I remember one particular day, September 25th, 2020. Yay! I think I can finally say, I'm born again. I'm born again. And so, fast forward, this is what someone would call a possession or a clear channel. I don't know if you've heard about medium or mediumship, because there's people here in the physical dimension that are able to tap into the spiritual realm for information, for the betterment or for the growth of humanity. And that day after that incident, because my husband had received his message, and my personal messages were that I had come to a point in life that I had, prior to coming to this earth, I had requested that this was the perfect time for me to wake up. This was the perfect time to realize who I was. And I believed it because all my life I've always said, I want to have my kids before I'm 30. At this point I was 29. This is September 25th, right? My birthday is in April. And so the message was that I had requested for assistance in getting up around this time so that I could awaken to the true purpose of my life, to my destiny, to the reason why I came to this earth. And for me, that was the best news ever. So I looked at my husband and I said, babe, this is a bit much, because it seems this is going to take us to Kenya. And let me tell you, when God intervenes on levels you didn't even know were possible. But at dinner that day, I asked him, this looks like it's going to have us move back to Kenya. And he said, when do you want us to go? And I said, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so happy. I'm so happy for this. And so I put my house up for sale. I went and I quit my job. And I started now learning about spirituality, learning and trying to find out who else is like me, and trying to find out who else has reached to the level that I've reached to. And thank God, because this is the era of connectivity with YouTube and Google and great library, great resources. I did a lot of studying and I realized, oh, this is the year of enlightenment. This is the year that many people are waking up to their true purpose in life and helping others awaken. And for me, this is my life now. Reason why I'm here in front of you today to tell you that the universe is calling you. The universe is calling you. It has sent me to you. I am literally going to be buying a ticket in like the next 2-3 days. I'm coming back to Kenya and I would love to work with people like you. Discover yourself. And when I say discover yourself, what does this mean? Let me give you an example. This is the glass full. This is me when I was 28 years old, filled with responsibility, filled with a lot, putting on different hats: a wife, a mother, a daughter, a business owner, an employee, an employer, name it. I was doing it all. But that day when I had my out of body experience, this is what happened. Everything got cleared. Everything got cleared so I could really see through and see who I truly was. And who I discovered I was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And that piece of me came to this earth with all the tools that I needed. All the tools that I needed to make it in my life. That me is enough. That me is aware of themselves and is ready to bring their light into the world. And it amazes me. And so with this empty glass now, what started to happen was the real me now trying to figure out, wait, I know I've been a mother. I've been a mother, I've been a wife, I've been a sister, I've been an employee, an employer, a friend, an aunt, name it. So many different hats, but with each different hat, I'm a different person. Because at school, I was required to act like a student, so I acted like a student. At home, I'm required to act as a mother, so I act like a mother. With my sister, I'm required to act like a sister, so I act like a sister. But with this glass now emptied out, forgetting everything that I knew prior, and entering into the world as a new person, almost like realizing that I just woke up and I'm looking around to see what makes sense and what doesn't make sense to my life anymore. Are these things serving me or not serving me? Are these relatives helping me or not helping me? Are they helping me evolve to the best version of me that I can possibly be? Or are they holding me back? If they're holding me back, then it's time for me to cut the ties. If they're helping me grow, then it's time for me to invest in this relationship so I can grow even more. And this is the offer I'm giving you today. I know you have your glass very much full. Empty it, please. Empty it just for these next 5 minutes. Empty it. And let me try and see if I can fill it with things that are more valuable to you than you will ever realize. And if this speaks to you, I will leave my phone number, I will leave my website, I will leave my email, I will leave my contact information. Feel free to reach out. An example, as early as I can remember, as a young girl going to boarding school, I remember one day I cried to my father and I told my father, Dad, I don't want to go to school. I really, really hate it. I really hate it. I would rather go to school near here where I can see you guys every day. And that was me. I was still very empty. I was not much. I didn't have many roles in life other than just my father's daughter, my mother's daughter, and a sister. That's it, nothing else. And that is completely pure and that's completely filled with love. So it was still very empty. And my father said, no, you have to go to school, you have to finish. And that's when I realized a part of me emerged. Because of that situation, a part of me emerged and said, held on to me and said, you know what? If that's what your father wants, then that's what we're going to have to do. So each time I would feel like, oh, I miss my parents. Oh, I want to be home. It would just come on and say, come on, grow up. You already had this discussion with your father. It's not happening. So the best you can hope for is for you to finish school sooner so you can get out of that situation. And so that became my coping mechanism, right? So then now I grew up, right? And I go to work. Okay? So by this time, right? I already have a couple of responsibilities. They're all mixed up, different colors, different things. And my boss comes up to me and says, Fidelis, you're late again. If you're late one more time, I'm gonna have to fire you. Okay, so now my glass is being shaken. Part of me wants to tell this person, you know what? I'm a mother. I have kids. I have to take care of my kids first before I can even come and become an employee in your company. But I know that by doing that, then I would lose my job. So what happens? Another part of me comes on and says, hey, now we are getting in trouble because of this. You have to figure out what you're going to do with the kids because you need this job. You really need this job. And each time I would feel like I want to stay home a little bit and just soothe my child from crying because we are departing. You know, separation anxiety. That part of me would overcome me and tell me, get over it. Work is important. So then I would just leave my kids, go to work. But when I go to work, then my heart would be so sunken. I'd be so sad. I'd be like, oh, my daughter will never forgive me. I remember these growing up when I kind of stopped trusting my mother. I remember it used to be like my grandmother would give me 1,000 shilling note on my birthday, and my mom would tell me, hey, let me keep that for you. And then a couple days later, I'll be like, Mom, I need 1,000 Kenyan shillings so I can go and do this and that. And my mom would tell me, where? Kwenye, who do you think bought that sugar or paid for that electricity? And just like that, I'll be like, oh my God, she turned on me again. I'm never trusting her. You know, and so as an adult, this started to affect me. I started to realize I'm repeating history with my daughter. She's going to end up like I did, and I don't want her to end up like I did, right? So I was kind of getting to that realization that a lot of things are happening around my life, and this keeps coming and giving me conditions, making me live life that I don't want to live, okay? So that's when I really prayed about it. And the Bible says, when you ask, you will receive. Okay? And I received my calling. And the understanding that this came with was, you're going to be happy doing this. And think about it. There's always going to be a sacrifice. When you want a child, you have to suffer the consequence of giving birth. And it's painful. But the product is beautiful. And it's something you hold dear to your heart. This is love right here in a physical form. And so I realized I have to everybody needs to pick their battles. Everybody needs to pick their battles. And I started deciding what battles to pick. So that means that job, I said, no, I don't want it. And thank God, because the conditions, the situation around me enabled me to be able to do that. And I thank God because I had a very understanding family, a very understanding husband. And I said, I want to invest in me. I want to understand myself better so I can better be able to be present for you as my husband, for my kids as their mother, for my parents as their daughter, to be present for other women, to hold the energy for other women to heal themselves. The truth is, I'm not special. I'm not special at all. I just really wanted to really achieve that goal of understanding who I am. And that day at dinner, I did get to understand who I am. And everybody can do this. You can do this if you put the effort in it. The Bible says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes, believing is the key. And whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, either way you're right. Because your mind is a supercomputer. And your mind is a supercomputer that's at service to you. Whatever you give your mind is what you get in the physical world. If you're upset with how your physical reality is unfolding, you need to work on your mindset. And I'm here for that. If you feel like you're ready to, to transform your life wholly and truly, because business is great, but it's even greater from a spiritual perspective, because then that means you manifest whatever it is that you need. Recently, I was parking and I came across my diary from when I was 19 years old. And in that diary, I had written a couple of things. I had written out my 10-year goal of what I wanted. And I don't believe it's by mistake that I found that diary and that paper fell out, because that paper describes my life in America from the beginning to the end. Everything I wrote in that paper became a reality, because when I wrote that paper, I had so much desire, so much I had so much desire for whatever it is I wanted, and I manifested it effortlessly. And the greatest thing about that is that I actually attracted into my life my soulmate, the love of my life, the man who understands me like nobody else has ever understood me on this earth. And for me, that is worth it. And I'm ready for the next step in life. And I would like you to be part of it. I envision the world as a big ocean, and everybody is on a boat. Some people's boats have holes, they're sinking. Life is not going so well. And some people's boats are like the ark. I feel I have built my ark. I'm ready and excited to help anybody else that needs that help. Bring your boat. Let me fix it a little bit, and then I'll let you go and live your life. And you will be so grateful, because there has never been another you in the world. So don't waste your time on this earth living out someone else's dream, or living your life based on what another person thinks or expects from you. The time has come for you to be yourself and discover the amount of power and the amount of energy that you have. I dare you to start reasoning. I dare you to start reasoning. I dare you to take back your life, take back your power, and be the best version of you that there ever was. I'll be holding a lot of free workshops. I'm really excited about this, because life has been really trying to teach you a lot of things. And that is why you've gone through so much. And nobody else can understand this but you. You can do that for yourself. You just need the guidance, the signpost, the things to look out for, the skeleton of it. I can share what I've done to get to where I am. And hopefully that can also help you get to where you want to go.